In September 2021, El Salvador made history by becoming the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. The move, spearheaded by President Nayib Bukele, was meant to catapult the small Central American nation into a new era of economic innovation. It was a bold experiment, one that many hailed as revolutionary, while others feared it was reckless. Now, a few years in, we can begin to assess the successes and failures of El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment and examine its impact on the economy, society, and international relations. The decision to adopt Bitcoin was rooted in several key motivations. El Salvador has long struggled with economic challenges, including high levels of poverty, unemployment, and reliance on remittances from abroad. About 70% of Salvadorans did not have access to traditional banking services when the law was passed. The idea was that by introducing Bitcoin, the government could increase financial inclusion, giving citizens a digital alternative to banks that they otherwise couldn't access. Additionally, remittances, which make up around 20% of the country's GDP, could be sent through Bitcoin with lower fees, benefiting families who rely on money from abroad. On paper, these goals made sense, but the reality has been far more complicated. While there have been some successes, there are also significant challenges that have emerged. One of the major successes of El Salvador's Bitcoin adoption is the country's global visibility. Before Bitcoin, El Salvador was largely unknown on the global stage. Now, it's in the headlines, and people are talking about the country as a potential hub for cryptocurrency innovation. Tourism has seen an uptick as Bitcoin enthusiasts from around the world visit to experience a country where they can use Bitcoin in daily transactions. President Bukele has touted these gains, positioning El Salvador as a country of forward thinkers. Another success, at least from a governmental perspective, is the creation of a digital infrastructure to support Bitcoin transactions. El Salvador introduced a government-backed wallet app called Chivo, meaning cool in Salvadoran slang. The app allows users to store and spend Bitcoin easily, and every citizen who downloaded the app received a $30 incentive from the government in Bitcoin. The goal was to encourage widespread use and adoption. Some businesses in the country have also started accepting Bitcoin for payments, from small local shops to international franchises like McDonald's and Starbucks. But alongside these successes, there are major failures. Despite the initial excitement, the adoption of Bitcoin by the general population has been much slower and more difficult than anticipated. Surveys suggest that a significant portion of Salvadorans still do not trust or understand Bitcoin. Many people have simply reverted to using US dollars, which remains the country's other legal currency. The volatility of Bitcoin has also made it an unattractive option for daily transactions. The price fluctuations mean that what you pay for today with Bitcoin could be worth significantly more or less tomorrow. For a population with already limited financial resources, this volatility is a big deterrent. Another issue has been the performance of the Chivo wallet. When it first launched, users reported numerous technical issues, including slow transaction times, errors, and security concerns. While the government has made efforts to improve the app, these early problems hurt public trust in the system. Additionally, many people downloaded the app just to claim the $30 incentive and never used it again. This points to a broader challenge: introducing a new financial system to a population where many are not tech-savvy and may not even have access to the internet or smartphones needed to use Bitcoin regularly. Perhaps one of the biggest critiques of El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment is its impact on the national economy. The government invested heavily in promoting Bitcoin, including purchasing large quantities of the cryptocurrency for state reserves. But, as we all know, Bitcoin's price is volatile. In the months following the adoption, Bitcoin's value took a nosedive, meaning the government's investments lost significant value. Critics argue that this has put the country's finances at risk, especially considering the fact that El Salvador still has significant levels of public debt. While President Bukele has remained confident that Bitcoin's value will rise again, the losses have fueled opposition, both domestically and internationally. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has been particularly vocal in its criticism of El Salvador's Bitcoin adoption. The IMF has warned that the move could destabilize the country's economy and recommended that the government reverse its decision. They've also expressed concern over the potential for money laundering and financial crimes, as Bitcoin's anonymity can make it difficult to trace illicit transactions. These warnings have strained El Salvador's relations with international financial institutions and created a divide between the country and traditional economic powers. The experiment has also affected El Salvador's standing in international relations more broadly. On the one hand, the country has garnered attention from crypto enthusiasts and entrepreneurs, some of whom see El Salvador as a pioneer in the future of finance. On the other hand, El Salvador's embrace of Bitcoin has alienated some traditional financial partners. The country has struggled to secure loans and financial aid from international organizations, and some have speculated that this is due in part to the risky nature of adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. The United States, in particular, has raised concerns about the move, which has led to tensions between the two countries. In terms of social impact, the results have been mixed. While some Salvadorans have embraced Bitcoin as a way to store and transfer money, many remain skeptical. A significant portion of the population still prefers cash transactions, and the lack of trust in the Chivo wallet and Bitcoin's volatility has limited widespread adoption. Additionally, there have been reports of protests against the Bitcoin law, with some citizens fearing that it could hurt the economy more than help it. For the younger, more tech-savvy population, Bitcoin has opened up new opportunities. There's been a rise in Bitcoin-based startups, and some young Salvadorans are using their newfound knowledge of cryptocurrency to explore careers in the tech industry. But for the older and less technologically inclined citizens, Bitcoin remains a confusing and untrustworthy concept. This generational divide points to a broader issue: the challenge of implementing new, digital-first technologies in a country where much of the population lacks access to basic financial literacy and technological resources. Despite all of this, President Bukele remains optimistic. He has doubled down on his commitment to Bitcoin, pushing forward with plans to build Bitcoin City, a futuristic, tax-free hub for cryptocurrency mining powered by geothermal energy from nearby volcanoes. He envisions a future where El Salvador is a leader in the global crypto economy, attracting investment and innovation from around the world. Whether this vision comes to pass remains to be seen, but it's clear that Bukele is not backing down from his bold experiment. In conclusion, El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment has been a mixed bag. On the one hand, the country has seen increased visibility, some economic opportunities, and digital infrastructure development. On the other hand, adoption has been slow, trust is lacking, and the economic risks are significant. The impact on society has been divisive, with some embracing Bitcoin as a step toward financial freedom and others viewing it as a risky gamble. Internationally, El Salvador has both gained attention and lost traditional allies. Whether El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment will ultimately be viewed as a success or failure remains uncertain, but what is clear is that this small nation has taken a giant leap into uncharted territory, and the world is watching closely.